Hello, everybody. What's up? I'm Jay with Guilty of Crime, and we're back. Come on in, guys. I noticed today it's Monday. It's a Monday before Christmas. It's December 22nd, 2025. Happy Monday, everybody. Come on in. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't. Get a membership if you can. You guys are going to want to get memberships today. Roll on in. Now, listen, we're going to be gifting memberships today. We've got another gift card to give out. Janet was so very kind and said, let's help a different family out. And then I did not ship the stocking today because nobody claimed it. So at the end of the show, whatever anyone else likes to give out, we can do that. Let's get to that goal. Hit that like, check out the goal, and then at the end of today's episode, I'll be giving a stocking and a gift card. All right, and in the meantime, we'll be giving out membership. So come on in, guys. Much love to everybody. If you look behind me there, that is actually the mental health jail housing that's accommodating Nick Reiner. All right, what we're talking about today is Nick Reiner going to get a not guilty by reason of insanity? Many people think so. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about his mental health. We're going to talk about a meth filled psychosis, right? Meth induced versus schizophrenic, right? I've got this chart here that talks about, well, first of all, it's a parasite situation here, and then when we talk about meth psychosis versus schizophrenia, that's what I want to talk about today because it seems like the lines are blurring just a bit. Now, both conditions, guys, meth psychosis and schizophrenia, both can look similar on the surface. Hallucinations, paranoia, disorganized thinking, but they're not the same disorder. Now, the differences matter a lot clinically and legally for the long-term outcomes and whatever's going to happen to Mr. Nick Reiner that took the life of his parents. So we're going to talk about all that today. There's a lot of new information that's just been flying out. What's up, FARQ? I think it's FARQ. Like, you made me choke. Excuse me. Pause it and take a drink. Choked me all up. I'm like, is that FARQ or fuck you? How's everybody doing today? Good to see you. Plus, that disorder you have to trial. Yes, absolutely. DJ Autistic, there's a lot going on today, and good to see everybody. We're going to break it all down. We usually do about an hour and a half, a 2-hour show, depending on how long. So we're going to try to get into everything that we possibly can. Kathy, thank you so much for becoming a member again. All right. I've always got a Red Bull. I either got a Red Bull or some kind of caffeinated drink. And y'all made me do this. Y'all made the goal last week, which made me dye my hair back to what y'all are used to. So we did that. All right. So thank you for upgrading. I appreciate that. Thank you for being a member for 2 months. I'm glad you love it here. We love you being here. My hair's the same as it was Friday, y'all, but I did go get a haircut for everybody. So there you go. We don't want to pop up with a cut that doesn't look like it's all nice and fresh for everybody. So, what I'm going to do today before we start with anything, I want you guys to hear quickly how Nick's parents, and he talks about a lot about this in a quick short. He talks about his dad walking him through a freaking acid trip that he had, and literally the acid trip that he had, his dad sat there for 8 hours. Now, I know there was a lot of tough love in the situation, but he also says, Nick Reiner says, the only thing that ever really worked for him was the tough love parenting. Whenever they were too soft, he took advantage of it, in his own words. All right, good to see you. Thank you guys for all the compliments. I appreciate all y'all. It's just another day in San Jose, baby. DJ Autistic, cool bro, good to see you, my friend. Thank you for becoming a Guilty of Crime crew family member. All right, listen, let's listen to this real quick. I want you to hear how he tells us about his dad talking him down from an acid trip. much nicer than I might have been to my 26-year-old if he had done that. So let's listen, and then we're just going to jump into all of it. There's so much today, guys. Grab your pens, grab your papers, or just make sure you have your memories on because there's a lot. Right, listen up.
My parents had already been through a long process of in and out of rehabs with me. So, like they'd see me do.
And again, guys, what I hear is a spoiled, rotten brat that was meth induced and also had schizophrenia. Now, you could be two things at once, and the two things can also cross over at once. But we're going to relish that he's inside the rat-infested, urine-soaked mental health jail housing, and what that means if he does plead not guilty by reason of insanity and it actually happens. Or if it doesn't, we can talk about all of the things.
Coke and heroin, so I didn't feel like saying I was on acid would be too big of a deal. So I walked into my parents' room, the lights were off, they were asleep, and I said, guys, I have something to tell you. And they're like, whoa, what is it? And I was like, I took acid tonight. My mom was like, oh, I can't deal with this. I'm going to bed. And she like ran downstairs and went and slept on the couch. And then I'm with.
And also you hear how he pretends to be his mom and he's got that nagging, oh, go to bed. And how his dad sounds like doo 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 doo. Again, it was them trying to help him through that. Whatever he was having an acid trip, they're being very kind and supportive. I'm sure they had put up with a lot by then.
My dad, and I'm lying in bed tripping my ass off, thinking about the Cleveland House of Horrors, and he's like, calm down, buddy, it's okay. I used to do this in the 60s. You'll calm down eventually. It won't be forever. And I was just trying to and he just talked me down for like 8 hours straight.
That's really sweet.
Acid. And
this is funny. This would be funny as an afterthought if he hadn't did a double homicide allegedly on his parents, to his parents, right? Parricide. He took the life of both of his parents, and listen how he talks about them. Like I said, I just wanted to have you listen to this real quick because I want you to understand that I don't think that I think his parents really did try to connect and understand and help him. And there's a lot of trials and tribulations when you're trying to help a child, especially one that's diagnosed with schizophrenia and has had a drug problem since he was, I think they said 13, 14, 15.
They never grilled me for it. They never, and it just sort of was
I think if I were parents and my kid came and volunteered information like that's like a really good way they handled it. Instead of being punitive, you know what I mean? They just were like helpful.
Yeah.
So you sat in you were laying in bed. Were you in the same room as your dad, or?
Yeah, we were lying side by side on a bed.
Oh my God!
Looking up at the ceiling while he told me about the 60s.
Oh my God, that's wild, dude.
So basically, I was.
All right. So, I mean, I don't know if that's like his form of bragging. I'm not sure what that is. I'm not sure if it's him just, telling a story and trying to be cool. But it sounds to me like there's a lot of these stories going around in Hollywood Friends. I can do a 3-hour episode on just Friends that talk about the things that he talks about and the red flags, the ups and downs, the anger, and a lot of things. All right. Hi, Jay, guilty of crime. What's up? He's going to get off. Not guilty by reason of insanity. Needs or meds change, then diagnosis, real mental illness, or get out of jail free. Now, Rocco, listen up. Before I get into the conditions of where this alleged monster of double homicide monster is, let me tell you what's a game changer in this. This situation it's not what you think, but it is a game changer. And then I'll tell you about the conditions he's in and so many other things. We're going to talk about meth, psychosis versus schizophrenia and how the lines can be blurred. Right. First, we have to hear this. Got to hear this to set the tone of this whole episode off.
For Fox Network on Nick Reiner's case. And got to tell you, this schizophrenia diagnosis, by the way, he didn't just develop schizophrenia. He has had schizophrenia for years, we're told. And the diagnosis of that is going to be so important in this case. And part of it has to do with the way the mental health system works. So somebody who has schizophrenia often self-medicates, and Nick,
schizophrenia, self-medicates, we're right on track, and under your scars, you're absolutely right. We're going to listen to some of that clip today about what Dr. Drew says and what many others say. It's a wild ride today. I've been watching other people cover this case, and I'm trying to cover the version where it makes me and you understand what's happening in the big picture. Holly, thank you so much for the $1.99. Choo. All right.
clearly did that, from heroin to cocaine to various stimulants, all sorts of things. What happens is that somebody gets diagnosed with schizophrenia, but they self-medicate and they become a drug addict. And then in these rehab facilities, and he went to 18 of them, what they end up doing is they end up treating the addiction to the drugs and not dealing with, ignoring, or not even understanding the underlying schizophrenia, the underlying mental illness.
And guys, I think that's what happened in this case with the parents. I really think they were chasing their tails, chasing the devil in this case. They were chasing him thinking that it was a drug addiction, just a drug problem. When I say you can throw $70,000 at a rehab 18 times when you have a bunch of money trying to fix a drug addiction. But when you have a drug addiction that is being used as a way to medicate yourself, and it's making you more angry, you can't tell the truth even to yourself, you lie to others, then this is what will tend to happen. And that's what we're dealing with right now. We're dealing with two things that are crossing the lines and blurring the lines of schizophrenia and drug addiction. Where do you find that line? Where's the fine line? How do you fix one and not the other? How do you fix the other and not the other one? How do you approach both? It's a rhetorical question. Start the party for Jay. They give so much in such a great channel. Ho, ho, ho. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. We're definitely giving stuff out at the end of today's episode. Let's make that goal. We got a stocking. We've got another Visa gift card, and we'll see what else.
So the person gets clean, goes out, has the underlying disease untreated, and then they go back to their old habits to self-medicate. That's when it becomes this revolving door. And that's what happened to Nick Reiner. He was treated for addiction over and over and over. But the schizophrenia largely went untreated. And when it did get...
And we're doing a blanket statement here when we say dual diagnosis considered in rehabs. That's just a blanket statement. We're not talking about a blanket situation. We're actually talking about Nick Reiner and what that not guilty by reason of insanity might mean, what the life inside the mental health jail housing system is, and where you can draw the line between the two, right? And we're specifically talking about Rob Reiner and Michele Reiner, who were brutally murdered by their son, Nick Reiner, allegedly. He's now charged with two murders, by the way.
Treated. What happens is that there's a whole community that is dealing with the way doctors treat mental illness like schizophrenia. So what they do is they'll give you drugs, and those drugs have side effects. And then if they end up in rehab or with another doctor, or even with the same doctor that prescribed the drugs, they will look at the side effects not as a side effect to the drugs, but something organic to the schizophrenia. So they're looking at a side effect saying this is connected to their problem with schizophrenia and not realizing it's really related to the medication. And it becomes this snowball that gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And they end up not.
And now some of you have seen that. Some of us have seen that with other cases, right? So some of us have seen a sibling or a relative go through this, a son, a daughter, and you don't know what to do with it. You go one way and you treat them for a while with that, and then it comes back and you try to treat for that. But most of the time it doesn't end up in your child taking your life or someone else's. So where does the line blur, and where does it become one to the other? Why was he never hospitalized to get proper diagnosis and treatment? Rehab wasn't enough. I think they were treating both, and that's what we're talking about today. They did, but they were working on both, and It's the meds complicate everything. All right. And if my mods can drop my there you go. All right, let's keep going.
Getting the treatment they need to right themselves, to stabilize themselves. So all of this becomes such a problem. And then on top of everything else, I interviewed a psychiatrist who said that there are 400 rehab centers in Los Angeles. He refers to 4.
And guys, now listen, if you don't address both at once because you don't know that one's a mental illness, when you're not looking at a 15-year-old and thinking they have mental illness, they have a drug problem, you just keep throwing money at it. That's what we're talking about at this point. And we don't know at what point that mental illness diagnosis of schizophrenia came into the picture. We don't know. We don't know. And again, this is a HIPAA law. We can't just go and ask the hospitals to release those documents. We're making suppositions here.
4 of them. He will make referrals to 4 of them.
Hold on.
1%. And why? Well, when you look at the ones that are $70,000 a month, what are they offering? They're offering, luxury treatments. They're offering swimming pools and camping and
listen carefully here, because I think that's what went wrong hugely in this case. I think that was the key thing that went wrong. And that's why we're talking about this. He absolutely has mental health problems, because right now, guys, he's inside of a rat-infested, urine-soaked mental health jail housing. And I'm going to show you the pictures and talk about where he is and what he's going through and what that's going to mean ultimately if he gets that outcome. All right. So that's what we're talking about. Yes, I believe he's a spoiled brat. I believe his parents went above and beyond and tried everything they could. But I don't know. I can believe that all I want until I see the evidence here.
Views. And what a lot of people are saying in the mental health field is none of that matters. And it actually can hurt, because rehab is not meant to be soft. It needs to be a hard experience to confront a lot of things that are more than uncomfortable. And there are a lot of doctors in the healthcare industry who think that, number one, no place should be charging that kind of money. And number two, the places that are and are trying to justify it with luxury are not the places you want to be. Nick went to several of those places at the very least. And I will tell you that in doing our documentary, there are people who are saying that it actually can hurt people if they have a lot of money, where they can send a loved one to a place that is trying to make people feel good and comfortable.
And you got to remember, if you're paying attention to this case at all and you're seeing any of these clips, it's almost like Nick Reiner brags about it. It's like he has these bragging rights about how monotonous and daunting it was to go to rehab, and he'd get out of rehab and then he'd go right back in because he already knew he wanted to use more. So he was just going through the motions because it's what his parents wanted, and I believe it was luxurious, $70,000-$80,000 a pop. So he'd go out and then come right back in. All right, Suzanne, you got your hair did. Thank you. Yes, I did it myself last week. See, Becky, good to see you, my friend. We're just getting started. You're not too late.
Because that's not the point of rehab. The point of rehab is to stabilize somebody. And for mental illness, as I've been told from people we're talking to, good luck trying to deal with that in 30 days. This is not a 30-day quick solution. So add up all those things. Add up the diagnosis, add up the side effects to drugs, and mistaking the side effects for the disease itself. Add up the fact that people self-medicate, and then they go to rehab that treats them for the addiction and never deals with the underlying problem. Add in the fact that there are.
And again, you don't really think of that. I have a brother and a nephew that you guys know have both been to prison, and we just thought it was a drug problem until my nephew got out, and he's possibly could be bipolar. He hasn't been diagnosed with schizophrenia, but there's a whole bunch of things that go into the case. Same with my brother. All right, I don't want to get too in detailed with it, but I've gone through this. I've seen it, and you never in a million years think, oh, they're schizophrenic or whatever. And we don't have, thousands, hundreds of thousands to throw at it. Foxy Amazon, thank you so much for the Guilty of Crime membership. Under Your Scar says, after rehab, you have to go to support groups or doc if you ever get in. And who knows what he did, right? Because, well, he's got a mass amount of money. The problem is insurance allowed 28-day inpatients, not enough time to treat addiction or mental illness. But listen, Rebecca, can you hear me now? He didn't have that problem that these other people are having because he has an exorbitant amount of money at his disposal. Will he still have that money at his disposal soon? I don't know. There's that law in place. It depends on what the outcome is. Is that situation pertinent to this one? No. But I hear what you're saying about anybody else that is not that of that stature. All right.
Charlatans out there in the rehab community, and that some of these places that charge a king's ransom are doing the addict and the mentally ill no favors. So I get back to what, based on what I'm hearing, is almost certainly going to be Nick's defense, not guilty by reason of insanity. And there are a lot of witnesses to put up on the stand who could well resonate with this jury.
It just takes one person, guys. One person. And hopefully people understand this. And I hope that you all are relatable to this, but not so relatable that if this occurs in your family or to somebody you know, that you start to see the signs, because this is a different situation than any of us. None of us just have millions of dollars. Yeah, none of us are just spoiled brats that can treat our parents like crap and then take their life and then use their millions to get the best attorney and have their family on their side, right? None of us have that. I don't know about you guys. I'm going to speak for myself, but that's where the money is allegedly coming from right now, is the grandpa's money that they left. There's an inheritance, and it was split between the 3 children. There's 4 children. One of them is an adopted older child by Rob Reiner that doesn't have anything to do with his grandpa. So there's actually 3 others, 4 altogether, but 3 without the adopted. All right. So that's the answer to that. Now let's get into the housing situation. And if you look behind me, that's the housing situation that he's in right now. All right. No rehab would have cured my ex, period. Right. We're in a different class than these people are. All right. So I'm going to drop myself down a little and let's take a look at this, because I really want you to see on the 18th, inside the rat-infested, urine-soaked mental health jail housing for Nick Reiner. Okay? Nick Reiner is being held at America's largest mental health jail, which is notorious for its rat-infested and urine-soaked inhumane conditions. Now, that's a far cry from Brentwood Mansion. He lived in this legendary, with his legendary Hollywood parents, which even, by the way, his grandpa's a legend as well, Carl Reiner, then Bob Reiner, then we got Nick Reiner, who now is just a murderer. All right. So 32 years old. He's accused of slaughtering his director dad, Rob Reiner, and his mom, Michele Singer Reiner. Both are his biological parents. He appeared in court last Wednesday wearing a blue we're just going to call it a vest, right? We're not going to use the S word. We're going to call it the unaliving vest or the turtle suit, which is standard inside the Twin Towers Correctional Facility, which we now know because we're hearing, rumor has it that he's going to, because of schizophrenia, he's going to use Ellen Jackson to take a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity. That's his first court appearance. Nobody actually really got to see him, so they drew him. All right. The hulking downtown jail under the state oversight confines more men with serious mental illness than anywhere else in this country, according to inspection reports and court filings. Now, this is in Los Angeles, guys. You got to remember, they're in Los Angeles, California. All right. It is where Los Angeles County sends inmates with the most severe psychiatric illnesses, those that deem too unstable for dorm style housing, even with the medication. All right, so we're going to take a look. You can see down there, that's my background right there, but that's also an inmate at Twin Towers with mental health conditions being escorted by a guard. You see him down here. All right. All right, so let me tell you what that means to be in that facility. Inmates with a serious mental illness are confined to 1 or 2 person high observation cells under constant monitoring. I hear they go in there every 15 minutes, sleeping on little more than a thin mattress and a concrete slab, if that. Now, many detainees wear the thick turtle suits with nothing underneath. Others remove them because the vests are uncomfortable or because of their mental illness, resulting in men spending more than 23 hours a day in their cells, often naked. All right. So there's that facility. And that's a facility that you see behind me there is what I put up for y'all. All right. Come on in, guys. Much love. Good to see you. Rebecca, always a prayer for you. I know that you lost a son to something similar to this. What's happened here with, drugs and maybe rehab. So big hugs to you, Rebecca. Guilty of crime always has your back. All right. I'm going to keep going reading. So I can't see your comments, but the mods seem to have it covered. All right. So behind me and that's there. The conditions inside the cells are described as squalid, right? County commissioners have repeatedly documented cells with feces smeared on the walls, urine leaking beneath the doors, graffiti covered concrete walls and floors, littered with torn cardboard, food trays, and juice boxes. In some cases, sheriff deputies shut off the water to the cells when the toilets are intentionally flooded. A move also cuts off access to drinking water, according to inspection findings. In some cases, guys, sheriff's deputies shut off water when toilets are intentionally being flooded, a move that also cuts their water off. Those conditions are now at the center of a sweeping civil law enforcement lawsuit filed this summer by California attorney George Rob Bonta, who accused LA County, the Sheriff's Department, and Correctional Health of subjecting incarcerated people to inhumane and unconstitutional treatment. All right, that is no special treatment for Nick Reiner, by the way. What's up, country girl? Good to see you, my friend. Thanks for the beautiful comment. Much love to you. From Brentwood to the hood, baby. Yep, from rags to riches. You got that right. And nothing's stopping them from keeping him there in the utmost disgusting situations. All right, now Rob Reiner's final message for Holocaust survivors revealed. We got a lot of stuff here. We're not going to go over today. Nick Reiner diagnosed with schizophrenia. New meds made him out of his head before parents' murder. That's what we're talking about. That's what got us here to this discussion today. All right. And then we got a bunch of other stuff. We talked about the bloody hotel room. And we also talked about Nick Reiner and how he's using his parents' money to pay for Alan Jackson. That's all in last week's episode. Now, the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department told the Post it's invested over $309 million in custody facility upgrades and operational improvements, including hiring additional custody staff, distributing thermal undergarments, and other infrastructures. I hope they don't do anything. I hope Nick has a rotten time. All right. The department officials said that they have worked for years to improve the conditions. Yeah. Particularly at the aging men's central jail, but acknowledge those efforts amount to temporary patches, which at this point, I don't care. Nick can rot if he did this, right? According to the department, a permanent solution requires replacing men's jail central with correctional care center designed to provide adequate programming space, recreational areas, and treatment facilities. Again, all of this, guys, people with substance use disorders and individuals, the only reason, in my opinion, they're even saying this to you or to us is because Nick freaking Reiner is in there. And I guarantee you that the people that are helping him are complaining about the conditions that he's in. I guarantee you, if it was just some other jackass kid that committed a double homicide on his murder, they wouldn't even give it a second chance. They'd say, suck it up, Buttercup. get your ass in there, and they'd slap his bare ass, as he went into the cell. I guarantee you. Yams, I don't know. Speaking from experience, these inmates live in those conditions because the Board of Supervisors of LA is strong arming funding. And I agree. The only reason they're even saying any of this is because it's Nick Reiner. No one gives a shit, honestly. Great information to catch up on. You're very welcome. Hit that like button. All right, now look it down here. This is where he sleeps. This could actually be a picture of him. It says violent and unpredictable. Homeboy moved to the floor and covered himself. I'm going to tell you about that. Mab, hey, you guilty peeps. What's up? Hello, good to see you. Anyone want to match my boy Mab? Choo choo. Mab, your stockings went out today. I got the tracking number. We're giving away another stocking and a gift card today. So let's get to that goal, guys. We got to get there. All right. Yeah, I saw a lot of those interviews, but today I'm focusing on his mental health and where he is. All right. Now listen, there's that picture on the floor. Let me drop that down because that's what's happening right now. See that guy on the floor? You see right here, violent and unpredictable. All right. Now, department officials say they've worked for years to improve the conditions. They're trying to make permanent solutions. The Attorney General lawsuit alleges the Twin Towers is plagued by mold, rust, and black worms in the showers, as well as rats and other vermin throughout the housing units. Basic hygiene items, including soap, toothbrushes, cleaning kits, and cleaning supplies, are often unavailable, making it impossible for inmates to maintain sanitary living conditions, is what the court record shows. Now, they're being sued right now. I wish this was Nick Reiner on the ground and he was feeling it. I hope he's feeling it because I don't know who's going to be fighting for his rights. Now, movement within the jail is also hazardous, guys. And I want to do another episode on Nick surviving jail. All right. I got so much I want to cover in this case. According to the complaint and the inspection records, elevator malfunctions are so frequent that the sheriff's department has determined it cannot safely offer in-person visitations for people housed at Twin Towers. No visitors for you, Mr. Nick Reiner, you little bougie piece of shit. The visitor area is accessible only by elevator, and when the elevator fails, they routinely do, visits are canceled entirely. Healthcare inside the jail is also stretched beyond its capacity. So listen, guys, Nick Reiner is fighting to be here where there's chronic understaffing. The jail has been forced sheriff's deputies into extreme overtime, further straining operations by the jail. Right here, these people are laying on the floor, inmates sleeping on the floor while waiting to be processed in overcrowded Los Angeles County jail reception. All right, again, that could be Nick, and nobody is fighting for him because he killed mommy and daddy, the two people that were fighting for him and gave him $70,000, $80,000 rehab stays and a pool house and whatever car, whatever money, whatever allowance. He killed mommy and daddy. They're not going to advocate for him. Let's go. Choo choo. Thank you, Sadie's mama. I appreciate you so very much. All right. Let's continue this. I got so much more. Listen, guys, it's 2025, but in 2023, approximately 4,000 incarcerated people were on waiting lists for medical care, according to the lawsuit. At one point, 7 psychologists were responsible for treating 4,500 patients across the county jail system. That's a ratio roughly of 1 psychologist to every 642 inmates. Do any of y'all think they're going to come out rehabilitated? Probably not. Now, chronic understaffing also forced sheriff deputies to work overtime 48 to 64 hours per month in 2024, further straining the jail operations. Now, listen, guys, Nick Reiner did not take a plea deal. Not take a plea deal. Reiner did not make a plea on Wednesday. Now, the plea should have been technically not guilty, but he didn't do that. They didn't make a not guilty. They didn't do a not guilty by reason of insanity. They didn't do a guilty. They didn't do a nothing. They just opted out to plea. The only words that he spoke were, "Yes, Your Honor." 3 words when asked if he would waive his right to a speedy arraignment. which he doesn't want a speedy arraignment, because if you drag this out, bring in your court records, tell everybody what medicine you're on, and show all the stories about how crazy you are, you might just get a juror to give you a little bit of a deal, right? That might make the whole case turn upside down. Now, court records show Reiner remains in custody at Twin Towers as this case moves forward. All right. I just want to quickly pop on to the diagnosed with schizophrenia and the new meds. And then we'll continue on about not guilty, etc., etc. What's up, everybody? Good to see you, Janet. You're such a good sport. Thank you. Did they even give tough love? No, they did give him tough love at some point, and we'll have to definitely go over that. All right, Amy, good to see you. Jay and Partners in Crime. I hope you guys saw my community page with my beautiful mods, best mods on YouTube. All right, now listen, let's just quickly talk about his medicine so you guys can get an idea. And you're not like, Jay, I missed it, right? So Nick Reiner was diagnosed with schizophrenia. His new meds made him out of his head before the parents' murders, according to sources. Now, we know why that's coming out. This came out December 19th, the day after we found out he was in this facility. Nick Reiner was schizophrenic, and his new medication was making him out of his head in the weeks before he killed Hollywood legendary dad Rob Reiner and his mom Michele, according to the report. Ding, 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 guys. He's using this as a defense because he was diagnosed with schizophrenia and he was on new meds. Everybody knows if you take medication, it takes a week to 2 to get in your system and at least a month to know if it's working. Okay. Now, the iconic director's troubled middle son, 32-year-old Nick Reiner, was being treated by a psychiatrist for his condition previous to the murders, but in the month before the murders, his behavior became alarming. As doctors switched his medication, sources told TMZ, about 3 to 4 weeks before Reiner and his wife were found stabbed to death in their Brentwood mansion, his prescriptions were altered, making him erratic and dangerous. I know you guys can see the clear indications between guilty and not guilty, or not guilty by reason of insanity, as we're going through this. I hope you guys see that, because I predicted this from day one, and I'm going to continue telling you about this all the way through. Jamie Casey, choo choo. Thank you so very much for getting us towards the goal. Mom, I missed that. Thank you so much, Mom, for the $2.99 super sticker. I appreciate you, Mab. I know I thanked you. And Sadie's mama, I do appreciate you all. All right, so you hear this? That is what's going to go down, guys. That's what's going to happen. We know, we saw the Hollywood home. We know that Nick lived in the back house and his sister lived across the street. All right. He lived with them, though. Now, once his medication was changed, Nick was out of his head. A source told TMZ he had been receiving treatment, listen, guys, at a ritzy Los Angeles mental health and substance abuse facility favored by the rich and powerful that charges an eye-popping $70,000 per month. All right, per month, not the whole stage, just per month. Reiner was schizophrenic. He was taking new pills. We see the arrest here. He was in custody and charged for the murder. He struggled with his drug addiction more than half of his life, almost 18 rehabs, allegedly. All right. And there we are. All right. We know about this. We're going to continue. They don't tell us what medication, but we know now that he's on heavy medication that changed. We don't know what's happened since that. We don't know if they put him on something else or what. All right. So now we're going to talk about meth psychosis or schizophrenia. All right. I'm going to give you a quick rundown on that before we actually get into the video, because I really want you to see what they say about meth psychosis versus schizophrenia and where the lines blur. Okay. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. Hold on. I don't like the way they did this. I'm going to have to hold on 1 second, y'all. And that's why I put my, that's why I do set it up the way I do. All right, let's just take a look real quick at this. It wouldn't let me go on the source, but meth psychosis versus schizophrenia. All right, both conditions can look similar. hallucinations, paranoia, disorganized thinking, but they are not the same disorder. The differences matter a lot clinically, and guys, legally is what we're talking about, and for the outcome that we desire. Okay, now I'm just going to give you a quick side-by-side comparison. If we're looking at methamphetamine induced psychosis versus schizophrenia, when you're looking at meth, your cause is direct effect of meth or withdrawal. With schizophrenia, it's a complex mix of genetic and neurobiological environmental factors. So I'm looking at this side by side. It's not letting me pull up this chart, but it's similar to the chart. So bear with me. Onset psychosis of meth would be often sudden, tied to a heavy chronic meth use. If it was schizophrenia, it's gradual or acute onset, not tied to the substance abuse. Now, when we're talking about this, look at what I'm saying, and you can take the two and put them together for yourself. You see there's a fine line in there. There's an imaginary line. Take those and just cross them together as I'm reading them. All right? That's what I'm trying to tell you. So, meth-induced versus schizophrenia. Symptoms of meth-induced: hallucinations, delusions, agitation, confusion. Physical signs: rapid heart rate, sweating, high blood pressure, skin picking, and dental issues. If you're looking at hallucinations, the symptoms are very similar. Hallucinations, delusions, disorganized speech, negative symptoms, flat affect, lack of motivation. As you know, Nick Reiner talks like this the whole time, right? Duration. If you're looking at the duration of meth-induced psychosis, acute episodes may resolve after you stop using meth. Chronic cases can last weeks to months, 30% still symptomatic at 6 months. Now, if you're looking at schizophrenia, it's so similar. Symptoms must persist 6 months or less for diagnosis, chronic, lifelong condition without treatment. Now, you take the two and combine them, and what do you have? All of it together. Now we're blurring lines. Physical signs of meth versus psychosis, right? Or schizophrenia, common. Tachycardia, sweating, dental decay, skin picking. This one, not typical unless another condition is present. So the physical signs, it's hard to tell, and it can go on both. You can cross the line. Yes, meth psychosis can meth psychosis can transition into schizophrenia, especially with genetic vulnerability. Meaning, if somebody in his family also, especially family, right? It runs in the family. Schizophrenia, bipolar, all of that does. Now, if you look at this side of just schizophrenia, it's not caused by drug use, though drugs can worsen the symptoms. So you take both and you put them together, and now we just messed him all up, and now you see. All right, risk. Listen, here's the risk of becoming schizophrenia, becoming schizophrenic. You look at the site of meth. Yes, it can transition into schizophrenia, and then it cannot be caused by drugs. It can be just some genetic effect that goes over time, but then you cross both, and well, maybe you kill your parents. Treatment. Here's the problem with this. The treatment was never clear, in my opinion, on Nick Reiner. His treatment was to stop maybe meth, maybe whatever drugs he took. Stop meth, antipsychotics for acute phase, behavioral therapy for addiction. But if you're not looking for schizophrenia over here, see, we have this schizophrenia and meth psychosis. If you're not looking at the treatment and you're only treating this, but you're not looking at antipsychotics, long-term psychosocial therapy, CBT, you guys know, cognitive skills, training, and family support, and you take this treatment and you stop here and you don't work on this, then you've got a volatile situation. All right. Key distinctions, triggers. Meth psychosis can happen because of meth. Schizophrenia happens independent of substances. Meth psychosis can be temporary, but not always. Schizophrenia is chronic and requires lifelong management. Physical symptoms. Meth psychosis often includes rapid heart, high blood pressure, sweating, skin picking, mouth decay, or meth mouth, right? These are not features of schizophrenia. All right. Long-term risk. Studies show up to 38.8% of people hospitalized for meth psychosis later receive a schizophrenia diagnosis. Meth may trigger schizophrenia in people who already have a vulnerability. Why they get confused? Because both can produce hallucinations, paranoia, delusions, and disorganized thinking. But the context, duration, and associated symptoms separate them. If you're trying to understand a real case, you've been researching for forensic and legal distinctions and comparison, this is often how. And we're just talking about substance-induced, a primary psychotic disorder, a combination of both, or and we're going to talk about this later, how courts distinguish meth psychosis from schizophrenia. And I think it's time to get into that now with Dr. Drew. All right. Good to see you guys here. I hope that this is making sense to you. I hope you guys are understanding and liking the content that I'm bringing to you. All right. I'm going to put this on, and then we're going to meth psychosis or schizophrenia. All right.
They play into what we saw or what he allegedly did and what unfolded with his parents. What was your reaction to hearing that?
It's actually a more complex landscape than you might imagine. Over 50% of people with addiction will be diagnosed with serious mental illness, probably most commonly psychotic illness and mood disorders. They're very common in addiction. Now, how much was pre-existing prior to the addiction? How much was caused by the addiction? How much is actually just part of the drugs or the drug withdrawal? It is extremely difficult to tell until someone has been sober for quite some time. Now, in the meantime, you're stuck with someone with a ton of psychiatric symptomatology, and you have to treat that. It gets dangerous if you don't treat it. In this case, the term schizophrenia, I think, is being tossed around. I think a more accurate way to say it would be that he had some sort of chronic psychotic illness. And again, the hallucinogens he did when he was a kid, the concentration of cannabis now, the methamphetamine he was doing, all those things can make someone look like a schizophrenic. It makes them psychotic.
And you guys see where this uphill battle is going to come in with this. This is going to be a key piece of evidence. This is going to be a key. I'm guarantee you this is going to be a key defense, a key piece of evidence, lots of evidence here. But in the meantime, Nick Reiner gets to sit in that shitty mental health hospital.
Psychotic. And treatment is similar. Difference, of course, schizophrenia comes on age 18 to 22, and it's progressive, even off substances with substance use disorder. And I also want to point out, amongst those people with serious mental illness, although 50% of drug addicts have serious mental illness, only about 30% of people with serious mental illness have drug.
Oh, you guys hear this? I mean, this is huge. Press play. Come on, guys.
Drug addiction. So the point being that it's co-occurring disorders are very common. The relationship between drug abuse and psychotic disorders is very complicated. But I'm a little suspicious about that diagnosis. It's just sort of,
we don't victim blame on this channel, so I hope nobody's victim blaming. Although I did hear victim blaming last night when I was looking around different channels. People were calling Rob Reiner a monster and saying all kinds of stuff. Absolutely not. Am I ever going to victim blame this monster? Alleged Nick Reiner did this to his parents right now, and that's on him. His parent, I'll never victim blame on what they did. In my opinion, they did the best that they could. If there's an isolated incident outside of this that Rob did or Michele did, that's an isolated incident that we're not going to mix with this case. All right. Thank you so much. I haven't seen you in a minute, One Love. Good to see you, my friend. And good to see you, total Avid Bro fan. All right.
Is that, are we saying, I haven't heard the full story yet, but is someone alleging that, at his age, all of a sudden they decided this is schizophrenia? That doesn't make sense to me. On the other hand, if they were treating a worsening psychotic illness, that does make sense to me. And it kind of doesn't make a difference which it is. And in either case, the drugs of abuse make things much, 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 much worse.
What about TMZ's reporting that there were doctors trying to get his meds right and that there was an issue with that before the alleged murders? What does that mean to you?
It can mean a lot of things. It can mean that they took him down off medicines that were sort of working and he got wildly psychotic. And then they tried to bring back a new, I don't know what they were treating him with, a new combination, and they couldn't do it fast enough.
And yeah, Dr. Drew knows a lot about this stuff. He's one I take a little bit. I mean, he's a doctor. he's a Hollywood doctor, so to speak, but I still take him a little more seriously. And yes, I'm in California, Honey Wills. You say my brother's a counselor at a very prominent rehab. Most people there are stars or people with money. And yes, in California, lots of people have lots of money, whether you're in Los Angeles, Hollywood, or San Jose, which is Silicon Valley. These people are loaded here. Us peasants get the leftovers from those people. All right. That's what we get. We get the leftovers from those folks.
Or it was having some sort of adverse effect. So, I mean, the only question worth asking is, if he was that fragile psychiatrically, why wasn't he in a psychiatric hospital? And part of that is the mess of psychiatric care in California. There are almost no psychiatric beds. We have shortage of psychiatrists. You can't hold somebody against their will in the state, essentially, almost no matter how sick they are.
But here's the thing, the interesting thing about this case, it's almost like we're talking about an alien in this case, guys, because we can't relate to any of this. And what Dr. Drew's saying is absolutely correct in many things. However, that's correct, not having a bed and that's correct for people that are of a lesser ilk than these folks. So it makes me wonder what's going to happen with him. Country girl, definitely didn't mean you were the crime crew, Jay. I mean the nasty comments I've seen elsewhere. I love your channel because you're kind and respectful. Well, thank you. I hope nobody's victim blaming, but I have seen that happening.
I have to say I'm going to kill somebody or I'm going to kill you, and I have a plan, and I'm going to persist in that. And if 5 minutes later I say I'm just kidding, all of a sudden you have to jump back again and say, okay, we'll let you go. So California is an impossible state to treat psychiatric illness.
Interesting. Yeah. My grandma was schizophrenic. And so, I grew up around that, and my dad had to deal with that his whole life. And I can just remember as a kid, she would be back at her apartment, but then something would happen. We'd have to have her Baker acted. She'd end up back in the mental hospital.
Yep.
And then, suddenly she would get out again, and we would be happy she got out. But then there would be
the people we're talking about being put in is a different person and a different experience than somebody like Nick. I'm sure Nick Reiner at $70,000 a month was having a masseuse. He probably even liked coming to America. Your royal penis is cleaned, Your Highness. Well, thank you. Do you remember coming to America where you got Eddie Murphy taking a bath and they'd brush his teeth for him and they'd even wash his balls? Your royal penis is clean, Your Highness. I hope you guys remember that, because that never goes away for me. My goodness, that's what I think of when I think of Nick Reiner.
This kind of worry. And I remember it even as a kid, like, it's going to happen again. And it did happen again. And the call would come in the middle of the night. Something crazy was going on, and she'd go back in the hospital. And so I sympathize with the whole family thing, because you love your loved one and you want them to be out and happy, but it just seems like it just repeats itself over and over again.
Yeah. And there is a reality is that some people need custodial care. I'm not saying Nick needs custodial care, but that's something we also don't do in this state. I mean, some people need conservatorships, and nobody except Britney Spears gets a conservatorship in this state. And how she got it and all the hundreds of thousands out on the street don't get it is still a mystery to me. But the addiction part of this is really the complicating factor. And I'm going to bet that is the primary disorder, that whatever psychotic or psychiatric disorder is here, it was because of the drugs and alcohol.
I said, your royal penis is clean, Your Highness. Well, thank you. Let me brush your teeth real quick. Hold on. Okay, you may leave now. Yes, I just got RLF Hicks wrapping gifts. It came out of the bushes to say, Jay, did you just say royal penis? I know how to get y'all. My parents would love all this, but they would not just keep throwing money at our issues. Well, if that's all they knew was to throw money at it, then they would. That's the thing. We don't have millions and billions of dollars to do that, right? You don't remember the very beginning. He comes up, or she comes up, and she's down there. She says, your royal penis is clean, Your Highness. Very beginning. All right, let's keep going. Boop.
Either drugs, the damage of the brain, or the pharmacological effects, something here. It all kind of smacks of addiction to me, with some sort of something he did to himself from all the drugs. And that something is usually pretty easy to treat once you get people off drugs. But until there's long-term sustained off substances, it becomes very, very, very difficult.
The report that he was in like a $70,000 a month facility at one point.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. I mean, that sounds, I don't know much about this stuff, but isn't that really expensive?
Oh, yeah. Generally, I mean, he's complicated, right? He's got co-occurring disorder. He's got some sort of psychiatric condition and addiction, and he's been a chronic relapser, and he's tried multiple treatments. So people will sometimes
What is up, Mo? Yes, stockings are shipped out today, but guess what? I'm giving a stocking away at the end of this episode. And not only am I giving the stocking away, but I'm giving a Visa gift card away at the end of this episode. So let's get to that goal. Tiff shipped out stockings today. I don't know if yours was in the bunch, but she will definitely be shipping them tomorrow as well.
Go to these sort of tertiary, quaternary referral centers to try to help. And I understand why they would. But the reality is, when it comes to addiction treatment done well should not cost much money. It just shouldn't. It is, if you're getting charged tons of money for addiction treatment, go somewhere else. Some of the best programs, we have very few good programs in Southern California, but the best ones, very inexpensive. You have to have a dedicated team of people who are just dedicated to treating this condition, who know it well.
A little bit more forward. I got other stuff to get to.
He would do that to try to protect them, but he turned on them.
No. If let's say this is a schizophreniform reaction, you'd go, Dad, I have to kill you so the devil doesn't eat your legs. It'd be much worse. So I'm going to save you from the devil by killing you. I'm sorry. And I don't think that's what went on here. I don't. What I suspect went on was just wild violence, which to me smacks of meth.
And I do too. I absolutely think it was a wild violence, and we're now using this as an excuse, which rightfully so. If that were me, I would do the same thing. If I had just slaughtered two people that were paying my way and I was living the high life and just this awful piece of trash guy just mooching off my parents, I would absolutely use it to the best of my ability. And I'd get the highest paid lawyer. Why not? Who cares? All right, Jay, you're very respectful and your channel is the best. Well, thank you, Husky Lover. I do appreciate that a lot. All right, battle of the experts if this goes to trial. Rocco, I couldn't have said that better. That's why I just read your comment. Thank you.
It seems like in our culture now, like we think of asylums as just being awful, and we think of like what you see from the pictures from back in the day in 50s and 60s. Yes. I even think of like with Nick's parents. Yeah, it's not a good look to like put your kid away. You know what I mean? It's almost like, oh, that you think that's not nice. They just didn't want to work on it anymore. Mm-hmm. But do we need to have a conversation in this country about that issue again? I mean, do some people just need to be in a locked facility?
I don't know about locked, but at least receiving custodial care or somehow, structured residential treatment that they have to stay in. And if they improve and find their way out, they can appeal to the court or whoever the authority is to get out. Then they get some vocational rehab. They do well for long.
And I do think that a lot of these rehabs, probably especially the ones that Nick was being put in, were focusing heavily on addiction treatment. And they didn't take that next step, because if they did, Nick wouldn't have kept going back in there 17 times after the first, is what they're saying. So every time he'd get out, he'd already anticipate that he wants to go back to that lifestyle. So a lot of times when people are trying to fix their mental issues on their own by self-medicating, they self-medicate to fix that, but they go to rehab if they can afford it, like he can. And they didn't work on what was the root of the problem, what was making him do that. It just doesn't seem that way at all. And now he's just using it as an excuse, which, like I said, I would do the same thing if I were in his predicament. But I don't think that's the case. I don't think that he had some psychotic break that he did that. I think it was partially premeditated. And when you see how cool, calm, and collected he just walks around in the store. He already, goes and checks in. He took a shower. Everything about him and his approach was cool, calm, and collected. Except, I bet, at the time of the fights.
Long period of time, we know how to do these things. Look, psychiatric hospitals today are beautiful. They're luxurious. People don't want to leave sometimes because that's one of the problems with them these days. Ken Kesey wrote One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest in 1959.
Yeah, that's, if you guys know about that, Daniel, that's you're absolutely right. Nick is a first-class manipulator, and I'll add a spoiled brat at that. How else could he have convinced his siblings to use their money for his legal defense? He's a user and abuser, and I agree with you. I couldn't agree further. I bet you Nick never did 12 steps or sponsored another person, and I bet you're right, Farley. I bet you're 100% right. I bet you none of the things that other people had to do, he did. He already knew he was going to appease his parents and then go back out and do it again.
That was 75 years ago. We're coming in on 100 years. Do people not think that psychiatric care has changed in 75 years? Of course it has. Of course, massively. We can do a lot. We had no medicine back then. We had only restraints and structure and things such as that, and just time in a facility. Now we can bring people in, get them through it. I worked in a psychiatric hospital for almost 35 years. I'm telling you, this bias we have that it's some sort of torture chamber is anachronistic. It's anathema. It is so bizarre that when people were watching One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, first of all, they don't understand that was 75 years ago. And secondly, it was not a documentary. It was not a documentary about what was even like then. May have reflected things from the 30s. There were periods where it was awful. Don't get me wrong. Excuse me. But we have to do something about it. We have to build psychiatric hospitals. We have to train more psychiatrists. We have to create residential beds. And when it comes to on the addiction side, I know RFK Jr. wants to create these work farms, which would work beautifully once you get the people stabilized and push through certain levels of.
And I doubt any of that kind of stuff happened in his treatment facility. When someone finishes rehab and relapses, they think they can use same as before and overdose many times, right? You're also highly susceptible to overdosing after getting clean, because you do a bunch of it, you get clean, and then it shocks your body when you go right back into it. And I don't know even about his overdoses. If he had overdosed, he probably has at some point. I haven't seen anything about that, but I'm assuming it's going to come out. I like Sherlock Holmes go, random thought. Has anyone heard from Brandon? We should send him a Christmas email. Who? All right, let's keep going.
Care where they can stay at these sort of structured environments, focus on their sobriety with their peers for years, which is what Nick would have needed. So in Nick's case, the schizophrenia aside, just from the standpoint of his addiction, if he were breaking the law, he should have gone to jail. And if he had gone to jail, it might have gotten through his denial and he might have gotten well. Let's say he spent 2 years in jail. He's going to be spending a lot more.
Oh, he knows he took the life of his parents, in my opinion. What he did, taking a shower and the cleanup of it and putting the curtains up and trying to block it out, he knew absolutely what he did wrong. And he absolutely, in my opinion, knows his parents are dead. This is just a defense that he's going to use. And then he's still not even going to he's going to be in a shitty, I hope he remains in a shitty hospital. He's had like I did hear that he had like a heart attack from the drug use before, which is, it's a drug induced heart attack. There you go. Thank you. I did hear that. All right, Jay has drugs too. They find ways. They have to defend themselves. Jail. Oh yeah, jail. I hear that jail is much easier to get drugs in than anywhere else. It's all right there. Everything you want.
Time in jail now, right? So if you have a loved one that is doing these things, bring consequences to bear. It can save their life. By the same token, the family members, need to go to a codependency program of some type, and you have to check in with your codependency sponsor every time you contact your loved one. Every time. Because all your wonderful parenting instincts, or if you're a sibling, your instincts for your brother or sister, will all be subsumed into the illness. And all those good instincts will be used to maintain.
I mean, he really does seem like he has no remorse for anything, Holly. Every interview I watch, and I've been consumed by this, or I wouldn't still be covering it. That's why I keep covering it, because it's blowing my mind to see his response to everything. And I feel like he has no remorse. What is that? A psychopath? What would you call that? Whatever you call that, that's him, in my opinion.
Drug use.
There's these reports now that he's in this daze in jail, that he doesn't know what happened. Is that just the defense putting that out to set up a, insane plea or whatever? Or is that really what you would expect it would be like for as he's coming out?
All right, here it is. This is the key. And then we're going to move on to the next thing, which is still talking about mental health, life inside, what that mental health means for the case. All right. And I saw the Jumpsuit Pablo. I saw the Jumpsuit Pablo episode. I want to talk about life inside of there, but I also want to get into the mind of Nick Reiner, which we have not done here yet. Now, Wayne, any truth to Corey Feldman connection as it pertains to the drugs and Nick? There's a possibility a lot of children are raped, molested in Hollywood. And I saw this story about Corey Feldman and Corey Haim, where Corey Feldman says Corey Haim said, "Hey, bro, like, we got to fool around. We got to do the stuff that we do in Hollywood. All the boys they diddle the other boys." I don't know if the truth from Corey Feldman pertains to Nick, but it's a possibility. It's a huge possibility. Absolutely. I think there's part of that. I heard about drones. Should I ask my grandpa? They do say he's in a fog state, but here's the thing. This is what it comes down to, guys, which we're going to talk about at the end of this. What it comes down to is what legal insanity, the definition is for legal insanity after or up until the point where he did what he did, and then what he did after. Did he know? So him being in a state now means nothing. Wayne, if you're implying Rob molested kids, that's a no. Yeah, I definitely was not implying that. Did you guys hear that Nick's father was abused by his father? Well, I heard there was, yes, I've heard of mental abuse, yes.
It's really hard to predict,
right.
Because again, we don't know all the details of what was going on with him psychiatrically. Really, we're guessing based on what's sort of leaking out. I would expect him to be confused for the first few days, yeah. But then we don't know, did he go into drug withdrawal? Are they treating that? Is whatever medicines he's receiving making him seem more out of it? Maybe he was extremely agitated and hitting his head against the wall and they had to do something and they sedated him. So who knows? We don't know what this is, but I'm certain he's not in a normal state.
And just lastly, my friend today and I were talking about this and she brought up, she's like, sometimes she thinks, evil versus sick. Like, are people just evil or is this kid sick?
He is sick. And in the disease of addiction and in psychotic illnesses, they can do things that appear evil, that are not in them, but they're part of the brain dysfunction. And
I do think that's the biggest problem here, Daniel. And thank you so much for the $5 super chat. God bless Rob and Michelle's soul, but they bought him a luxury hot rod for his 16th birthday. Just indulge. He had them wrapped around his finger. And that shows you even more, in my opinion, that they tried their very best. Remember, they had 3 other kids, 4 total. One that's now in her 60s was adopted, and then 2 other ones, a younger one, and I'm not sure where he falls in, but there's all these children, and this guy was getting the attention of his parents in a negative way, and they'd throw money at the problem. I will never, ever, ever victim blame for that, because I got to tell you right now, Daniel, if I were in this predicament that Rob and Michelle were in all these years, and I had all of that money, I would probably do the same thing. I would probably switch between, let me throw money at this kid. Let's try rehab. Let's try medication. Let's try maybe just buying the damn kid something. Okay, move the kid back in. Let's watch him. He's 32 years old. Damn it. We got to take him to the party to make sure he's okay. I feel like they did their absolute best with what they had. That's what I'm going to say. All right. I imagine it wouldn't be easy. And I don't buy it, but that's what we're going to be sold.
So people with addiction do horrible things. And believe me, even when they're doing it, when they're in their disease, they feel guilt and shame. But when they try to get better, the guilt and shame is overwhelming. It's one of the things that they struggle with, makes them kind of go back. They're in so much pain seeing what they've done. They can't stand it. And they don't understand that they'll do the same thing all over again. Or their disease convinces them that they won't, which is, how this works. The thinking is just broken. It's another thing in this country. We don't understand. We don't seem to understand that thinking can be broken. Brains get broken. Brains don't work right. They get disease. They get illnesses. And the disease of addiction, in particular, is a progressive disease that ends in death. And so, to allow that,
I just think his family.
You hear manslaughter.
Had all the resources. They probably did everything they thought they could, and had the best people that they could find. Are some people just? Does it just end in tragedy no matter what?
Yes, there's such a thing as untreatable disorders, but then those people should be put in custodial care, right? They can be in a structured environment. They can be sustained. They can live a decent life. The one thing I worry about, I already mentioned the codependency 12-step program. I've treated many families, not unlike the Reiners, and they come to me and say, I will do anything. I will do anything. Just tell me what to do. I will do it. I say, you'll do anything? Absolutely anything? Okay, I'm going to tell you to do one.
And there you go. You want to do anything. You want to do anything, and you have the money, and you're like, hey, this can happen. Now, listen, I'm going to answer your question, Wyatt, because I really respect your question. While the terms mental abuse, often called psychological abuse, and emotional abuse are frequently used interchangeably, there's a subtle distinction between the primary targets. All right. So you were asking that. Mental abuse attacks your grasp on reality, while emotional abuse attacks your feelings and your self-worth. I hope that answers your question. Mental is more of a psychological abuse. This form of abuse targets your mind, your intellect, and perception of reality. All right. Emotional abuse targets your feelings and self-esteem. All right. It manipulates your emotions to feel unworthy, unlovable, or fearful, which keeps you compliant. All right. I hope that answered a little bit of your question. All right.
Thing. Unless you do this one thing, you're going to continue to be part of the problem and the demise of your loved one. If you do this thing I'm telling you to do, you'll be part of the solution. You need to go to a 12-step or Al-Anon meeting, some sort of codependency meeting every day, get a sponsor there, and have regular contact with that sponsor. And they will look at me and go, well, I'm not sick, so what do you want me to do? What should I do? Or what do we do with him? Like, I'm not saying lose weight and check your fat intake. I'm saying do this thing. It's a treatment, and it's free, and it's available 24/7 by Zoom now. Do it, and it will be helpful, because you cannot manage this illness alone. Even I, with all my experience, I always have a nurse with me, and I find myself getting sucked into it sometimes. I have family members that.
What does that mean, Wyatt? Give you an example of each one. Like I said, one is more of a, you're a piece of shit, you're not worthy. It attacks your feelings and emotional. And the other, maybe someone wants to do that in chat, because I can go all day and keep going.
Have this condition. So I've done codependency work. So you just have to do it. And it's kind of uncanny when you do the work, how much you realize you're in it.
So even you get sucked into it sometimes.
Yes, even with because not being.
Now, Wyatt, there's a huge overlap between the two, okay? So I'm just going to tell you, despite the distinctions, they almost always happen together. It's rare to have one without the other. For example, if someone constantly calls you stupid, that's emotional abuse. You may eventually begin to believe you genuinely lack intelligence, all right? That's a mental effect. The distinction is mostly academic. In practice, both are methods of power and control that also result in trauma, anxiety, and loss of self. All right. Legally and therapeutically, they're generally treated the same way. So the question to your answers, they're very similar and can overlap. And many times they do overlap. All right. We're almost done with this because I got to get
a good parent, fund of knowledge. None of that makes difference. It doesn't. It's an uncanny, it's a relational condition. It brings you in. I always tell people, do you ever see The Little Shop of Horror?
Yeah.
Okay. The Audrey 2, the plant,
yeah.
is a perfect model for addiction. If you go near the plant, you go in, you get eaten, unless somebody pulls you out. You have to have somebody there pulling you back. And that's your codependency support group.
Interesting. Well, I appreciate your time, Dr. Drew. Thank you so much.
Yes, we do. All right. Quickly, I'm going to jump this up. Today, this morning, new details emerge about Nick Reiner's schizophrenia. And then we're going to go into what the legal ramifications of everything that we just talked about today. All right. Because we did not get into legal ramifications at all. We just talked about how it affects somebody in general, how it may have affected Nick, and then where he is. So now we're going to talk about the new details that came out this morning and what that means for him in the justice system.
The death of Hollywood icon Rob Reiner and his wife Michele, NBC News has learned more about the mental state of Nick Reiner before prosecutors say he fatally stabbed his famous parents. 3 sources with direct knowledge of the case tell NBC News the 32-year-old was being treated for a serious psychiatric disorder at the time of the crime. The sources say Reiner, who had been open about his struggles with substance abuse, was diagnosed with schizophrenia several years ago, and that his medication had been changed or adjusted sometime before the killings. Hours before the bodies were found, Nick Reiner had been disruptive at a holiday party at Conan O'Brien's home, according to 2 people familiar with the situation. He's now facing 2 counts of first-degree murder.
Yep.
Reiner did not enter a plea in his first court appearance last week, where his attorney urged the public not to rush to judgment.
There are very, very complex and serious issues that are associated with this case.
Experts say Reiner's mental health is not only likely to be at the center of his legal defense, but could also impact the potential for the case to go to trial.
Looking at Nick Reiner's mental state right now could actually stop these proceedings in their tracks if he's not deemed competent to stand trial and move forward with the legal proceedings.
Now, with their autopsies completed, the bodies of Rob and Michele Reiner have been returned to their family. Over the weekend, Saturday Night Live paying tribute to the comedy legend, sharing this photo of Reiner, the show's 3rd ever host back in 1975.
A lot of you are wondering about the way I look tonight. This is the way I look live, ladies and gentlemen.
And we want to remember these people. We want to remember Rob and Michele Reiner for who they were, what they did, right? There's absolutely siblings being spoken that are speaking out, but they've only given statements, written statements at this point, which we went over in the last episode.
Real me.
In the New York Times, friends and relatives also remembering the love of his life, Michele, an accomplished photographer whom they described as equal parts mama bear, social planner, and glue of the family.
Liz, just given these new details that you just laid out there about Nick Reiner's condition, possible that he could plead not guilty by reason of insanity?
Yeah, I mean, Craig, we should point out that his attorney has not commented on any potential legal strategy, but according to experts, the short answer is yes. However, they also know that insanity is a very high bar to successfully plead. Any action that he potentially took to cover up the crime, like hiding a murder weapon, which, by the way, has still not been found, washing or changing clothes, all of that can undercut that defense. Craig.
All right, Liz Kurtzforth there in Los Angeles. Liz, thank you. Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch the...
And yeah, if we had more time, I would absolutely read up on that for you, April. But I did that in the last episode, and I still need to get to the legal ramifications of what we're looking at and his diagnosis. And I ask you, does Hollywood get special treatment? Absolutely, it does. I'll answer that now. But this former prosecutor or prosecutor is going to tell us what this means. And this is the best information that I can find that came out today. There's a lot of people claiming to be psychologists. There's a lot of body, the behavior panel and whatever, but I'm not on that yet. I'm on what the legal ramifications are going to be based on him giving a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity, which I'm speculating for it to be. He made his choice. You cannot blame this on drugs. Who's blaming it on drugs? We're talking about the psychosis, what meth psychosis versus schizophrenia is, and how the lines could have gotten blurred to where they didn't realize that. None of this I blame on drugs. I blame it on him 110%. But we want to break down what's going on. I just want you to understand that. I don't give him a pass, and nobody else does. But that's a contributing factor to what he did and his mental health. There's two things going on in this case.
Special treatment in these types of cases. I got so many legal questions. We got a brilliant lawyer here to break them down.
Yes, this is great.
You are like so experienced in this. Can you explain just a bit of your background so folks who don't know you know what you're talking about in this case?
Andy, thanks for having me. So excited to be on. I get to work with Ron, and now I get to talk to you. So tell you a little bit about myself. Went to Harvard Law School, graduated Harvard Law age 22, one of the youngest people ever to do so, and worked for the largest law firm here in Los Angeles. Represented some big companies, Disney, Marriott, and the Roman Catholic Church. Then I became a federal prosecutor. Prosecuted primarily drug and human trafficking cases, then did public corruption for the city of LA before starting West Coast trial.
And yeah, correct. That's absolutely correct. I agree with that. And that is what happened many times, Daniel. Many people ridiculed Rob Reiner because at many points he did do tough love. He did give Nick tough love. And Nick said the only thing that he ever respected or followed, anything that worked, was when his parents gave him tough love, which is interesting because they got into a fight at Conan O'Brien's house. Didn't call 911 because Conan O'Brien didn't want cops coming to his house and his party. He thought that they can take care of it outside. So something blew up between them. They went home. He took their lives. And I think that they did try to. He wasn't a child. He's 32 years old. All right. So that was a contributing factor. I think they did try that. But you do everything for your kids and you still get ridiculed for something that you didn't do.
Lawyers, where we do primarily civil plaintiffs work, personal injury, employment, civil rights. I'm a former prosecutor, but I don't defend any criminals, and I do a lot of TV commentary.
Yeah, and you got a lot of comments on this. I've seen you on CNN, so I just would thank you because we got a real pro here. I'm honored. Thank you so much for the time. I want to get into it because you know a little bit more. This is your area of expertise. Let's start with just sort of the overall. It's a tragedy, but what do you think his defense is going to do? A lot of speculation coming in, obviously with the mental illness, with his addiction.
This is key, and this just came in hours ago. That's what I wanted to talk to you guys about. Man, me too, but I quit shortly after it's better to go to these sources right now so we don't have to wait for law enforcement, because a lot of these people are the source, have sources. They were there. They knew someone, or Conan talks to this person. April says, I'm sorry, but no matter what your child does, you don't think your child will ever do something like this. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm going to start right there. What are your predictions moving forward with his lawyers plan to do a full force defense?
Andy, you're gonna have to indulge me here because there's a lot of possibilities and I gotta go through them for your audience, right? So let's just start off the top. Not guilty by reason of insanity. Very tough defense. You got to show under California law, under the McNaughton test.
All right, listen up closely because this is what we're talking about here in California. We're also going to mention the death penalty, which is not happening right now. They can give you the death penalty, but they're not using it right now. All right. So let's listen to what he says about the legal ramifications of that mental illness or mental defect defense.
Because of a mental disease or defect, you're unable to understand the nature and consequences of your action. Basically, you don't know right from wrong. Very tough to prove. Jurors don't like it. Only works a very small percentage of the time. And what happens is you have to go through the guilt phase, and then the trial is bifurcated. Then you try to prove after your client's convicted that he's legally insane. So insanity means that you think your parents are aliens or demons, or God or the dog is telling you to do something, and you don't know right from wrong.
So that's what we're talking about. What's the difference? Where does the line get drawn between a mental illness defect, not guilty by reason of insanity, versus just a manslaughter charge or, whatever? I don't know what they're going to do. I don't think they're ever going to be able to get a first degree. All right. And yeah, I am Zuckerberg. Be kind to Nick. He's been through so much. Well, we're not going to be kind or not kind. Nick's going to be in a mental facility probably forever.
To prove, I don't think Alan Jackson is going to go that route. Then you start talking about different types of self-defense, right? It's hard. We're looking at Nick Reiner there. He's 32. His father's 78. His mom's 70. I don't think self-defense is going to work, whether it's perfect, which is reasonable self-defense, or imperfect, which is unreasonable.
All right, listen, guys, right after this, we're going to be giving away a Visa gift card and a stocking. That stocking's got to go out tomorrow. So whoever gets it, gotta get it. They've got to claim it today. Otherwise, we can't give it out. All right. So not calling 911 will haunt everyone. My heart hurts for them. And I agree. I'm sure Conan O'Brien, he's the one that said, no, don't call 911. So that's probably going to haunt him. Yeah, Nick can be insane and guilty. And you're right, but the lines get blurred, and that's where this guy's helping to understand.
Then you start talking about manslaughter, heat of passion, right? The problem is you're arguing at Conan O'Brien's house the night before, you come back with a knife or something happens in the bedroom. That's too much time for heat of passion. We saw that argument be rejected in the Nipsey Hussle case. The shooter,
not to interrupt, but they might have been asleep, right? That makes it even harder.
Oh, yeah, if they're asleep, forget it, right? I mean, look.
Oh, you guys got like a good 10-15 minutes to get your memberships in. You got to be in the United States and you got to have a membership. Those that support Guilty of Crime know that our money goes back into Guilty of Crime for the website, for the things, for the everything that we do, and then for giveaways. So make sure you get that in there. Please get your comment, hit your like, and get your monthly membership.
There's reports that their throats were slit. I don't know if he came up behind them, attacked them in their sleep. We don't know.
It said multiple wounds in the cause of death. What does that mean? You would know better.
Yeah, multiple wounds, obviously, and we have the information that's been publicly available right now. So
multiple sharp. Sorry, I want you to mark multiple sharp force injuries. What is that definition to you?
Someone that's stabbed to death, right?
Right, so, not just one slit.
No, not just one slit. So, but they could have been slit. They could have been stabbed multiple times. Obviously, you have mom and dad were both stabbed. They're both in the master bedroom. Apparently, that's what was reported to LA Police Commission very recently. So again, not your typical heat of passion type case, right? You go into someone's bedroom and you kill them. That's premeditation. Speaking of premeditation, that's what you need for first degree murder. And the special circumstances are multiple murders and a deadly weapon potentially. Well, that's what you get when you're looking at a potential death penalty case. I don't think that's a real option. I won't talk about it. We haven't had an execution.
Yeah, he's right. We haven't had an execution in a long, long time, which he'll talk about. But I'm also looking at another article, and I think it's going to be hard, guys. I think it's going to be hard to get that defense of mental health defect. The diagnosis will doubtless be played by sympathy in court from Alan Jackson. But, guys, if you look at the evidence in this case, on Friday night, they talked about Nick last Friday learning that he had been under a psychiatric care. They said recent months. Earlier, they said recent years, so we'll have to narrow that down. And that his meds had been switched up, making him erratic and dangerous week before the murders. But listen, guys, Nick was erratic and dangerous long before that diagnosis. One friend and many others recounted seeing Rob restrain his enraged son in a bear hold when Nick was only 11. So starting way back then and over the years, there are a lot of stories about good old Nick. Also, in the Reiner murders, they both seem premeditated by what we're looking at. Nick allegedly waited until his parents were in bed before attacking them, and he did it in an eerily calm manner. All right. So if this accused killer was out of his mind, why was he caught on video peacefully walking away from the crime scene or buying a Gatorade at a gas station? All right. If he was so out of his mind, why did he check into a Santa Monica hotel and allegedly leave the shower covered in blood while methodically covering the windows? All right. Someone can call that mentally ill, and also at the same time a cold-blooded killer. Nick also talked about destroying the guest house years ago when he talked about being spun out, and he actually thought it was funny. He was like, yeah, I was on coke and something else, and we hear his dad talking him down from an acid trip, and he's making making his mom sound like she's naggy, and his dad like do 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 do. Just imagine waking up and seeing your son at the end of your bed coming at you with a knife. He lived in the guest house. They got into a fight at the party, came home. He methodically waited for them to go to sleep, probably because he wanted them to be down. So I don't know how you could move in a methodical way and then at the same time say you don't know anything and get that defense. But you can get that defense if you have Alan Jackson as an attorney and a bunch of money. Amber, thank you, Amber's Pook Bowman. Welcome to the crime crew, baby. Welcome. Thank you, Suzanne, for being a member for 9 months. Mama Sage, thank you for the $2.99 super sticker. Michelle just gifted a Guilty of Crime membership. Please thank her. And Suzanne gifted a Guilty of Crime membership. Please thank her. All right. When Jews go psycho, they go all the way. I think that's for everybody, but I love reading some of your guys' comments. All right.
In California in almost 20 years, but that's a mandatory life without the possibility of parole or LWOP case.
Right, Daniel?
So death penalty not likely. Okay, sorry.
Not
continue.
likely. I mean, look, there's a moratorium on the death penalty. Newsom is termed out. It's possible a new governor would come in and lift that moratorium, but unless it's a Republican, I can't see it happening. And no Republican has been elected statewide in California quite some time, especially the governor's mansion. So then you start looking at his drug use. Now, voluntary drug use is not a legal defense. Now, if someone drugged him, potentially that's a defense. That's a very creative direction that Alan Jackson may go in. He's very good at presenting these alternate theories of the case. But drug use can be used to negate premeditation. So a sort of safe bet would be to try to get that first-degree murder knocked down to second degree, in which case it would give Nick Reiner the possibility of parole at some point in his life. I know I've been talking a lot. There's just a lot of different directions this could go in.
No, it's fascinating. I appreciate it. Please keep talking. What's fascinating is who's paying for the lawyers has been a question that's come about. Reports now saying that the Reiners themselves.
Well, listen, it's not fair to not have the support of a channel, and we do give things away. But here's the problem, Royal Bitch X, is sometimes if we give stuff away to people that don't include, or that we absolutely give away things that include non-members. But when we do that, a lot of times people don't use their real name and they never get a hold of us. So I've given things away to people that we don't know and that are just out there and they never come and get it. So I don't know. Maybe we will do a giveaway, but people that support the channel, So let's think about that, ladies. Think about something. Maybe we'll do a giveaway to a non-member. I have been helping people with Christmas behind the scenes already. So, and those are not people that are members. They're just people that need, like for Thanksgiving, I gave people Thanksgiving turkey dinners and they weren't members because they couldn't afford it. All right. So we are gifting memberships every day we are live. Yes, we do. We gift memberships every single day. All right.
Are paying it through their estate. Again, it's coming through Daily Mail. I can confirm, but I'm just curious because Alan Jackson's not cheap, right? I think that's safe to assume someone's fronting that bill. There's now talk of other inheritance money at the line, which he could maybe even get, Nick, if he gets an insanity charge. Could that help establish motive here? Do you think that's likely? Do you think money's part of it?
Let's talk about it. Obviously, look, it may be money, right? look, I mean, this is just speculation. Rob and Michele may have said, look, we're cutting you off because of your behavior and because of your drug use, right? So that's certainly a possibility. Now let's talk about who's paying. Now, obviously, Alan Jackson might be doing a pro bono or for publicity or hoping that he gets a not guilty and he can get paid afterwards. Under California's Slayer statute, you kill your parents, you're disinherited. Doesn't matter if it's a will, doesn't matter if it's trust.
All right, and a lot of you guys will get confused about this because you're going to say, Jay, what? That doesn't make sense because look at, they're paying for his attorney right now. Well, here's the thing is they are not paying for his attorney because he has access to the money. They're paying for the attorney because the brothers and sisters of him have an inheritance from their grandpa that he's also on. And out of the kindness of their heart, they don't want to see their brother be on death row because the prosecutor is absolutely threatening Nick Reiner with the death penalty. So they paid to get their brother a better lawyer with the grandfather's money. Now, when it starts to come into the next part of this case and the grandpa's money gets tapped out, I don't know that with this law, he's going to be able to tap into the parents' money. We'll see. He's a lawyer and apparently good at his job. You can't hate him. No, we don't. No, he's not. It's $2,000 an hour. Yep, I told that last time. $2,000 an hour. Minimum gift of 1 membership per live guaranteed. All right. Thank you. No, he can get money. He can get money until convicted. Well, we don't know. Things are tied up right now. And I could do a whole episode on where the money's coming from right now. But it is tied up with his parents. Because of his parents dying, nobody can get the money right this second. All right. But they are using grandpa's inheritance, which has nothing to do with this. All right.
Life insurance, you are deemed to have predeceased your murder victims. So you can't be a beneficiary under any circumstances. Now, it's possible that the siblings are paying for his legal defense. Let's not forget, Alan Jackson was at the family home on Tuesday evening. It's a crime scene.
Here, what we'll do then, guys, what we'll do, since a lot of people, there's people that need stuff, all right? So listen, we'll give a stocking away. If you're a crime crew member, I'll give you a stocking. If you are just here, and you've hit the like, you've done all the things, I'll give the gift card out to anybody because the gift card can be sent, it will be sent to you by email. All right, so let's finish this up. We'll do a giveaway first for a crime crew member for the stocking with it stuffed. And then you said, and I don't take money from Jay or Tiff for Foxy boxes. That's out of my pocket. Right. Absolutely. And many times I give Tiff money for a partial of something. We all pitch in. All right. So I'll give a gift card to anybody, but you gotta give me your email before the end of the show. And then we'll do a stocking to anybody. All right. How about that? So we don't get people being unhappy on the show. What's up, Sherry? Good to see you, my friend. I'm here. I just subscribed. Welcome, Nikki Newbold. All right. There we go. Let's finish this and we'll do our giveaways.
Essentially, again, just speculation, the siblings let him in. And again, I don't know what the relationship is right now, but if he is getting paid, it's probably from the siblings. It's possible that there is a trust that is not related to estate planning. So when I say you're disinherited, that's if it's a will substitute. Let's say there's some trust that's set up to pay for his necessities. The trustee may continue paying. But again, under the Slayer statute, or even a probate judge can.
You hear that? I'm glad we're talking about the money because it could just be cut off at any time. What's up, Cheeky? Good to see you. Cat H, I appreciate you. All right. Well, Nick, not 2,000 an hour. Laura, I could tell you maybe 1,000, but not 2. Yeah, we looked that up and it's roughly 2,000 an hour. And he usually gets at least $1 million for everything, $1 million and above per trial because of the time it takes to get to trial. Melissa, thank you for keeping us updated on this case. You're absolutely welcome. All right, let's keep going. Yeah, probate takes time. Hell yeah, it does. And thank you for saying Merry Christmas to me. You guys don't think that, you guys remember we're all family here. I'm going to do the giveaway, but I'm also going to show you who we are. On my site, I put up Christmas pictures and people are like, Jay, I don't know who the hell's who. So I'm going to show you the guilty of crime girls. Holly is not in the pictures because she's new, but maybe next year. Hi, everyone. I've been here, but I've been quiet. Well, welcome. Thank you for being here, Daisy Duke. Appreciate you. Merry Christmas. Member for a month. All right, what's gonna happen?
Say, come in and say no. You kill your parents, you forfeit any inheritance. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens there, how that plays out.
Fascinating indeed. So if he's insane, could if the kids are paying for it, what is the benefit you think to try? Because if you're saying the death penalty is unlikely, what do you think the outcome would be? Is there a version where he gets away from this?
It's possible. So for the Slayer statute to apply and that forfeiture to prevent Nick from inheriting, the murder has to be.
Yeah, that's every case is case to case, so you can't say that. In my case, or like for my mom, she has a trust, so the trust isn't going to go. That trust won't go into probate. That I'm the executor, I think it's called. So yeah, no, not all wills go through probate, and especially when you do something like a trust, that makes it so nobody can take anything away, which is great. Thank you, Mama.
Feloniously, basically, it's a felony, which obviously it is, but it has to be intentionally. So first-degree murder and second-degree murder qualify, but not guilty by reason of insanity, that does not qualify for the Slayer statute. Same thing with self-defense, right? Manslaughter probably doesn't either. Heat of passion. So there are worlds where Nick Reiner is convicted, but because it wasn't an intentional murder, I'm not.
There you go. That's a possibility that could happen. All right. That could happen. He can absolutely get everything he's looking for. And then the consequences are still going to vary, whether he's in a mental hospital or he gets a prison sentence. Now, that's why parents got to understand to get wills. Get your wills made. All right. The moment I got married, I put my wills into place for my children. Now, I didn't have Reese back then. So, but anyway, anybody that's living and has children, has things, make sure you guys get a will, because shit happens. And yeah, that's a good reason to have a trust. Absolutely. My mom is the smartest and best woman I know. Love you, Mom. All right. You do need a lawyer for a trust. If you don't want to do it yourself, I would get a lawyer, because a trust can get complicated. And if you do it online and you miss something and then you pass away, it can expire, and they can say, oh, it expired, but you didn't know that because you didn't read I would get a lawyer. I did. I got a lawyer for my wills. My mom does a lawyer for her trust. Yeah, it's just a mess without. So there you go. There's a good warning. Get a lawyer, get a will, put in a trust. Better yet.
Saying that the defense is going to win, but if they can convince the jury that this wasn't intentional, then he can still inherit under the law.
And just to read it again, if he's deemed insanity plea does win, can that get him part of this inheritance?
Yep.
Yes, because that is not an intentional murder. He's going to be committed, spend some significant time in a psychiatric hospital, but he's going to get paid.
That's going to piss some people off, I'm guessing. Don't you think? People want justice or even revenge on this story.
No question. Look, I mean, jurors don't like insanity. I don't think Alan Jackson's going to go that route. A very small percentage of those defenses are successful. Look, this is how it works. When you're talking about insanity, the trial is bifurcated. So you go through the guilt phase. Then you turn around and then you argue insanity. So it's very hard to do both. You can't imagine Alan Jackson and the defense saying, you know what? Oh, Nick was acting in self-defense. This was mutual combat. And then the client is convicted and then turn around. Oh, he actually did it, but he's insane. It's very, very hard to pivot like that. Jurors don't like it. You lose credibility. That's why the insanity defense rarely works. Again, a possibility. But look, if you're coherent enough and capable enough to go to Conan O'Brien's Christmas party and know who your parents are, and have an argument with them, that's not insane. People throw that.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. They throw that around, and the legal definition of insanity is going to be much different than the definition of insanity by his, psychiatrist and the battle of the experts. Someone said earlier, if this goes to trial, it's just going to be battle of the experts. It's literally money buys you the best defense, and that's what's going to happen in this case if it goes that way. All right. Does it have to be a state asylum? He would be committed, or no, it hasn't. I don't think that has anything to do with anything, Wyatt. Maybe money might help, but it just depends where he is. You can't just get him out and say, well, I want to put him in this cushy one. Where he committed the crime is where they're going to prosecute. Where they prosecute is where he's going to end up. All right. Let's keep going.
A word around. But insanity really means because of a mental disease or defect, you can't understand the nature and consequences of your actions. You don't know right from wrong. You think it's an alien, you think it's a demon, God, or the dog is telling you to kill someone, and you don't know that that's wrong. It's very hard to prove insanity. Look, he left after the murders, allegedly. He goes to a Santa Monica hotel. He knows enough to clean up, right?
Yes,
In
that's what I'm
the
saying.
bathroom. There's blood all over the place. He blacks out.
He knows enough to black out the windows. He knows enough to do all that. He knows enough to go get a hotel so that he can be in luxury when he does it. No one interrupts him. I mean, really, this guy, I think it was coming. The signs were ignored. And here we have
The
it.
curtains, right? He knows enough to walk to a gas station and buy a drink.
Jurisdiction
That's not
matters.
the actions of someone
Thank you,
who's
Lady
insane.
Jess.
I don't think insanity is going to work, even though a lot of people are talking about it.
Very fascinating, because I see these interviews too. Everyone's like, "Oh no, he's got this mental issue," and I'm like, "I don't know, man. This guy looks like just a bad guy. This a mean jerk guy who's really ungrateful and abusive to his parents. Who, whatever, not trying to be mean towards the parents. Rest in peace, but." Only, the kind of kid only a mother could love really is coming into play here. So people seem to want that justice. But coming back to that theme I started as we wrap it up, getting like Hollywood does, in my opinion, always seem to get this special treatment. They can afford these special lawyers to get them off of the hook. Do you think that's going to happen here? What are your thoughts?
Listen, jurors, they love celebrities, especially here in Los Angeles. That's the reality. Now, obviously,
here's the problem with Nick Reiner. He really wasn't a celebrity. He is a poser. He wanted to be. He did something 10 years ago, and he hasn't been successful since. But the jurors are going to absolutely, in my opinion, love and adore and be on the side of Rob and Michele Reiner. All right. Yeah, he's bougie, and he is bougie and selfish, and see what's going to happen.
Nick is the son of a celebrity, Nepo baby, but he's not a celebrity, right? He may become a celebrity like the Melendez brothers or, Eric and Lyle Menendez, but at this point, no one really knows who Nick Reiner is before Sunday. Now, Rob Reiner is a Hollywood icon, so I think the defense is going to have his hands full because he was beloved by all, charitable, was involved in a lot of great causes here in LA, was kind to everyone. I mean, the problem is,
and shout out to you, Suzanne Barros. Good to see you. Merry Christmas. Thank you for being here. Hit that like button. We're almost at the end of this, and we're going to give away a gift card to anybody, a stocking to a Crime Crew member, and we've been giving memberships away, well, all year long. Merry Christmas, Crime Crew lovies, Marvelous Mods, and Wonderful Jay. Back at you, my friend. Hit that like button.
You have a very sympathetic celebrity victim. That's going to be the problem in the case. Not the celebrity factor. Look, obviously, it's no secret that rich and famous people, they can afford private lawyers and better lawyers. They tend to do better. But it doesn't matter if you're a celebrity or not. You'll do better at trial if you have money and you can afford.
Rob Reiner was trying to make his kids be on their own accord and make their own way. That's why he put Nick there, was because of the drug addiction thing, and he wanted to work with him together and let him get it out so he can get past it. But otherwise, Rob wanted his kids to make their own way because he knew what living in the spotlight was like, or in the limelight, right? And in the shadow of your father, Carl Reiner. So he wanted them to make their own way. What is up, David BMX? Good to see you, my friend. It's been a while. All right. Merry Christmas to you. All right. Let's keep going.
Great lawyer like Alan Jackson.
I want to ask about sort of the fact that, aside from even being well connected, his opinions politically were very well known. Rob Reiner did not believe in capital punishment. How likely are the family's wishes in that going to play in this? If they're spending all this money and funding this lawsuit to try to avoid capital punishment, do you think that's maybe not as needed because their opinion would be more involved? How involved would the surviving family members be in a verdict like this typically?
Andy, they have a right to be heard, but that's about it. And again, I'm going back to the Menendez case. Every living family member of Jose and Kitty Menendez, they want Eric and Lyle released. They talked to the DA. There were press conferences. The DA, Nathan Malcolman, who I used to work with when I was with the city of LA, he opposed resentencing at the court, and he opposed release before the parole board. So he's going to make his decision independent and regardless of what the family members think. And let's not forget, Nathan Hochman ran in LA.
And that is going to happen. You see things echo, and it is because of, Lady Justice said, because of the jurisdiction. And because of the jurisdiction, and then depending on the judge and depending on who falls where, that's how it's going to go down. And I have a feeling they're going to be hard on him. Alan Jackson is creating a media campaign right now to frame his client as mentally not capable. I'm telling you right now, what we're talking about today is the reason we're talking about it today is because Alan Jackson is framing that for the community and for anybody that's talking about this. He wants people to think that it was a mental defect that happened. Merry Christmas. I've enjoyed the coverage in chat so much, better than some others I've seen. Well, thank you so much. I do appreciate you. Much love. Keep coming back. It's awesome. I love you guys too. You guys are what makes things go around. Hi, Jay. This is such a tragedy. Absolutely. But there's so much that we can learn from these tragedies. As sympathetic as if he's the victim. Right.
On a tough on crime
We're
platform. His
not.
predecessor, George Gascon, was deemed by many, myself included, as being soft on crime. There's a perception that crime is rampant in LA. So
You
I
didn't
don't
miss
think
anything.
the DA is going to give any type of deal or discount in this case. It is a gruesome, horrific murder. It's a life case. And even if Nick's siblings want him to get something less, I think the DA is going to move forward. The case is the people of the state of California versus Nick Reiner. So the family members, again, have a right to be heard, but they're not a party to the case, and they can't direct the case.
What should we look at? Final questions, or what should we expect next? What's going to happen? I imagine it's going to take a long time, but what can viewers expect, especially ones who want justice against Nick?
Expect to be waiting quite some time. This is why Alan Jackson already continued the arraignment. It's the defendant's right to a speedy trial. Obviously, people know Jackson from the Karen Reed case, but for folks that don't know, he's also representing the defendant in the Pepperdine Pacific Coast Highways murder case. So that case is going to take precedent just in terms of timing. That's 4 murders right there. I would be surprised if this goes to trial anytime before 2027. But we know Jackson does a good job, not just in the courtroom, outside the court.
And think about this, guys. That means Nick is going to sit there that long, getting his meds right, he's going to do all the things. He's got to do all the things now, and I wonder how that's going to go. All right. I know Jackson is what I meant. Just to be clear, trying to gain sympathy for Nick. Right. Absolutely, Venus. He is absolutely creating a campaign, just like he did with Karen Reed, to make Nick seem like this poor kid that his parents did tough love on him and he turned to drugs and then he schizophrenic and he snapped and it wasn't his fault. That's the campaign that you're going to see, that move that's coming up between now and January 7th when they go back to court. He's creating a media frenzy and a media campaign about his client. All right. When trial starts, I'm sure we'll know more, like what happened at the Conan party. I think we'll find that out much sooner. I just haven't tackled that yet, but there's a lot of good inside information about what happened there. So stay tuned.
So look for his PR machine to start working. He's already given some statements. Let's not rush to judgment. Let's let the process play out. And let's see what alternate theory of the case the defense is going to put on. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, it's interesting because they keep saying don't listen to the media, obviously, of course, but it's almost implying that there's something else to this case. In your experience, what else could there be that we're missing where Nick maybe isn't the bad guy, or is he trying to just paint that? What's the benefit in sort of playing it that way?
Well, look, the best defense is a good offense, and we saw it with Karen Reed. He put those police officers on trial, and he alleged a cover-up, and he did a masterful job destroying the lead detective in that case, Michael Proctor, for folks that didn't cover or follow that trial. Now, look, it might be a theory that,
and I've heard that too, and that is not going to be my narrative on my channel, Coley SF. It's working. I just came from another live show, the panel full of Nick simps. You're absolutely right. That is what he's doing right now. He successfully did that in the Karen Reed case. Well, luckily Turtle Boy was around too, so Karen Reed had lots of support. But you see how it went down. Just imagine what happened with Karen Reed. That's what he's framing for right now. All right. We're going to continue. Going through this case and looking into the mind of him. I'm really fascinated by this. The jury's going to be hard to select if it goes that way. Just subbed up to you, Chica. Well, thank you, Coley SF. If that's San Francisco, I'm in San Jose. Susan says, I grew up in San Jose. Love that place. Yeah, I know a lot of Barrows out here, Susan. I have a lot of Barrow family members in San Jose. So I see your last name is Barrows. Maybe that's your husband's name. All right. I think it will. Iowa that doesn't have an insanity plea, they will send you to get medication and then put you on trial. Not here in the United States, guys. All right. Does anyone know when the funeral will be? That's a good question. Let me look it up. If anyone knows, let me know.
Nick Reiner was drugged at Conan O'Brien's party, and that's why he acted the way he did. There's going to be some story, some alternate story that's going to come out. The evidence so far that's been made public is so damaging. Alan Jackson knows that he is behind and significantly behind. He's going to have to pull a rabbit out of his hat. But look, you don't hire Alan Jackson unless you're going, all the way to trial. And that's what I fully expect in this case.
Yep.
Last question. Will Bill Hader have to testify? Do you think? Will Conan O'Brien? Will any of these people?
Absolutely. Andy, they're all witnesses. Conan O'Brien, Bill Hader, Billy Crystal. That's why this is going to be the trial of the century, the biggest case since OJ. You have a celebrity victim. You got a Nepo baby. You got a gruesome murder. You got the celebrity factor.
Hey, look, they said a Nepo baby. Y'all were trying to get that in there. Now, guys, the bodies were just released back to the family. I did read that. Public reports don't give any specific confirmed date, but they did get released. The autopsy's been done. We're waiting on that report to come out. It should be out soon. So their remains have now been released to the family, and a small private funeral or memorial is to be expected, guys, within the next couple days, which is really sad because Christmas is in a few days, and they're planning it now that the body's been released. We don't know the exact date or burial details. They're keeping it confidential. So I'm assuming that they'll probably have a big thing. They'll have a big funeral outside of after Christmas. Jackson's not a good lawyer. He's a sleaze, in my opinion. I guess if it means good, lack of ethics, it does. Venus, it does. That's what it means. It means a good defense attorney usually doesn't have a clear set of ethics. That happens though. That's when they're good at their job. They tell a story and we buy it. That's not good for me, but if you were in the defense side, you would say that too. All right, let's keep going. They said it's going to be a small private funeral. And yeah, that's what we talked about a minute ago. All right, let's let me play this and then we're going to give that away. Hold on. We're just about to end.
Right?
And you're saying there's a chance he could get off?
I think it's unlikely he gets off. Based on the evidence I know so far, I think the prosecution has the upper hand. And it's not even close. But we've only seen a fraction of the evidence. And Jackson is very good. But if I were a betting man, I would bet my money on Nathan Hockman and the district attorney's office to get a conviction on first-degree murder based on the limited information that's come out this week.
Yeah, true.
Well said. We'll bring it back. I'd love to have you back anytime, sir. Such a pleasure to have you. So much wonderful expertise. Thank you for sharing it with us. Guys, West Coast trial lawyers, they got some good ones between him and Ron. I'm massively impressed. Make sure
All right, guys, Popcorn Planet, y'all know the drill. All right, those are all in the descriptions. There you go. This guy, 2 different people, maybe it's 3, 4 different people. All right, guys, we're going to be giving things away right now. Alan Jackson was a prosecutor for LA prior to becoming a defense. He's a freaking bulldog, and we saw what he did for Karen Reed. So we'll see what's going to happen here. You think life with no parole? Well, maybe he'll want that. Maybe Nick will want that after being in that mental hospital. Maybe it'll be even better. All right. Ready goes first. Well, I don't know what the mods are saying, but let's give away the stalking. The stalking is going to, it has to be somebody that's a crime crew member, and you've got to get me your address today, or we can't get that out for you. And then we're going to give a gift card to anybody. All right, consecutive life sentences. They should do that. NorCal, thanks for the deep dive on the case. Merry Christmas. Stuff a stocking for me, please. Michael, yeah, we saw how Jackson did Karen Reed as well. Merry Christmas. All right, guys, we're about to give away the stocking, and that is for anybody that's a crime crew member, and then I'm going to give out a gift card for anybody. But you got to give me your email if you win and your address today, or I can't make it in time. All right, let's put this up so we can do a giveaway. All right, remove. I hope everybody's having a wonderful day. It's Monday. I wish I could have got a little more sleep today, but got to get up. I'm on vacation, a staycation actually, not vacation, but I am off of work until January 5th. So I'll be around the interwebs and I'll be doing my show per usual, probably 4:00. But I have a little more free time and I get to sleep in, which is nice because baby Guilty doesn't have school. All right, guys, there is the stalking giveaway. We got to get your address today if you win so Tiff can get it out. All right. I don't know who Naomi McFarlane is, but she's got to be a crime crew member. I haven't seen her here. Has anybody seen Oh, my dogs are stinky. Stinky. All right, where is she at? Yes, I have time off. I can sleep in. I don't know where she went. My old dog is stinky in here. Anybody? All right, that is Naomi McFairlane, but that has to go out today, and I don't know where she was. She was in chat, but I need her here. So I'm gonna run it again for the gift card. If Naomi doesn't come up from the bushes, I'm gonna have to re-give it out. Naomi McFairlane, are you a Crime Crew member? Number 1. She's here. She's a member. All right. Well, there you go. There's the first one. Naomi, you gotta get us your email over to me, guiltyofcrimebyj@gmail.com. If you're here, I need your address today so we can ship out tomorrow. If you don't get it, then I can't give away the gift and then it messes it up. So I don't see her, guys, but I'm going to rerun this again. This is going to be for the gift card and it goes to anybody. Naomi McFairlane, I hope you're here because I gotta re-give it away if I don't hear from you before the end of the show. All right, now we're gonna do a gift card, and that could be for anyone, but you gotta get me your email now, or you can get it to me today or whatever. All right, where did she go? Did anyone see her? guiltyofcrimebyj@gmail.com. Is Naomi here? Anybody? Oh, you're here. Okay, great. All right, that's awesome. So guiltyofcrimebyj@gmail.com. Naomi, that is for you. You won the stocking. Congratulations. And listen, Cole SF, I hope you didn't go anywhere because you won the gift card. All right. Okay, so there she is. Naomi, email me, guiltyofcrimebyj@gmail.com. I need you to email me like right now. Like right now. Otherwise, we can't get it out. And Cole SF just won a gift card to help with the holiday stuff. To get a meal, to get an extra gift, to get some pajamas, whatever the heck you want. We got one Crime Crew member that won and one non-Crime Crew member. So congratulations. Cole SF, I need you to email me at guiltyofcrimebyj@gmail.com so I can get that over to you. And I need Naomi to email me right away with her address so we can get your stocking out tomorrow. Naomi, my email is right below, guiltyofcrimebyj@gmail.com. I need you to send me an email right now so that I can get your gift out. If you don't, then I have to re-give it away and then people don't get their stuff. All right. Because when you don't claim your stuff, especially on a holiday giveaway like that, I have to re-give it away. All right. And Cheeky, the orders are sent out for the stockings already. Yes, they got shipped out today, right? Tiff, where are you? Yeah, Tiff sent me a bunch of messages today with tracking numbers. So, yes, all the stockings either went out today or they previously went out. Cole, please email me at guiltyofcrimebyj@gmail.com, as well as Naomi. Naomi, congratulations, guiltyofcrimebyj@gmail.com. I need that now. Otherwise, no stockings, no stuffing. All right. All right, guys, I will see you tomorrow. We're in the Christmas spirit. We gave out a gift card to a random Crime Crew person, and a stocking to a Crime Crew member that supports the channel. All right, MM Clark, 2 Hispanic ladies just knocked at my door looking for a lost pug. Did you pull out the arsenal and say, "What do you want? What do you want? Are you trying to rob me?" All right, Merry Christmas, guys. Wyatt, thank you, guys. I will be back here tomorrow, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern, or 6 p.m. Central. Mahalo. I love me some Hawaii people. All right, guys. Good night. Love you. Foxy Amazon says we're going to do a Foxy box tomorrow. So we're still giving stuff away. Christmas is in 3 days from now, and we're feeling very generous. Have a wonderful night. Love you all. Good night.
Guilty of crime.
I want to thank you for watching. watching. If you enjoyed my content, please share this video, like, and subscribe. You can also follow me over at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, or Gmail. If you'd like to donate to my channel, you can use Cash App or Venmo or PayPal. Thank you very much in advance. Guilty of crime.
Are you guilty of crime?